Hey y'all, how you perking? I hope you're perking good. So this time it's a spin on the full year 2023 predictions video. This time we are putting in our focus on the United States of America. We are zooming in on the USA in this one. We got lots of requests from people to say, hey, I totally dig the international, 2023 predictions, so that everybody that's a viewer gets to, see something that is relevant for them. But can you please also do a US only one for us folks? So here we go. We got a lot of votes for that, so we're gonna do it here today. So I am a licensed mental health clinician as well as a spiritual intuitive, and in these videos we take a look at the tea with the tarot, and we got a good track record here. We do. Let me go ahead and pull up the, well, before I pull up the cards, y'all, I must be in my 90s phase. I don't know what it is. Like the last handful of videos, I look back and I'm like, what is my thing with the 90s right now? Like I'm in my 90s phase. Got my little blazer going. Got the low pony, the low loose pony thing. Got all the, brown tones on everything going. I'm just in my 90s shit right now. Just legit. And small, mini little rant here. There was somebody I was watching, it was a YouTuber, and she was quite young, quite a bit younger than me, and she's like, I'm a 90s kid. If you were born in the tail end of the 90s, you are not a 90s kid. You were still drooling and shitting yourself in diapers before the 90s came to a close. That doesn't count. To count as a 90s kid, preferably you're born before the 90s so that you're actually cognizant of the entire 90s as you're growing up in your childhood, fully aware, potty trained and feeding yourself and, speaking words and stuff like that by then. So that was just interesting that somebody said that. I was like, isn't she born in 98 or something? And I was like, girl, that don't count. You're an aughts kid. You were born in the aughts, the early 2000s. That's your kiddom. Anywho, whatever. This microphone right here needs to move on out the way so we can get to these cards. So with this, we're taking a look at 2023 year-long predictions for the United States only. As I said, we're going to be digging into all kinds of different things: politics, the economy, finance, career, health, wellness, whatever the hell needs to come up. As usual, this is just all alleged and just my interpretation, okay? All alleged and just my interpretation, because it is. But we're going to be taking a look at this. Penelope coming to us in her greens today. She just felt like doing her greens so that she could oppose me. So, we don't have to have the same taste all the time. She can feel like it's a green day and I can feel like it's a brown day. That's okay. It's okay. Oh man, y'all. Instead of doing the normal format where I literally do kind of category, different categories for different types of topics, throughout, I don't want this video to run away, grow legs, and run far away from me, because this is a video that could accidentally go an hour or two with the amount of information that could probably come forward. As it is, if you haven't seen the regular 2023 full reading, I have two videos on that, a part 1 and a part 2. It seems some of the people that watched part 1 were not aware that part 2 went out. I think YouTube dropped the ball on notifications again, so the part 2 is out, just letting people know. So we've already got a lot of that out, but I don't want to end up having to do a part 1 and a part 2 of this too. So I'm just gonna, keep it moving, just, pulling pile after pile, stack after stack, and wherever this goes is wherever this goes. So that's how we're gonna do this. So let's go ahead and dive in here. Let me check the time so I can monitor how long I'm going to be going. It is 2:06 p.m. on Saturday, January 14th. So that's how we're going to do this. Oh, and also, if you'd like to be a member of the Perk Squad, for extra perks like extra videos, extra content, weekly forecasts. If you'd like to know what's going up for the year, you might want to know what's going up every single week. We've got that on the Perk Squad, weekly forecast posts, got all kinds of things, video shout outs like this one. Shout out to you, Aaron Cooper, and thank you for being a member of the Perk Squad. You've got little green googly eyes. Maybe that's why Penelope wanted her green today, because she wanted to match your Penelope, Aaron. Maybe that's what it is. So thank you for being a part of the Perk Squad. Happy to have you here. All right, let's just start here. What is it that we can know, that we're allowed to know about 2023 in the United States, Spirit Guides? What is it that we can know, that we're allowed to know? Where do you want this to start? Where do you want this to start? Okay. Whew. Okay. Well, that's an interesting start to this. It feels like, per our kind of usual, we usually start with politics, and even if I wasn't asking to start with that specifically, it kind of looks like we went down that lane. So here we go, whatever. I'm seeing that in the United States, 2023, there's going to be something that comes up that's really thickly around legalities. Is that legal? Is that fair? Is that okay? Are we going to tolerate that? Is that what we want? So I know that there were several things similar to that theme in 2022. You know, the Roe v. Wade thing, which consequently we accidentally predicted that here on the channel as well. I'm sure y'all can remember that one, where in a monthly reading saw that coming up, and then a couple days later, boom, it hit. It was the leak from one of the justices. So interesting. But that came up. There were some other things that came up around legality, like the student loan debacle. People were saying that's not legal. Yes, it is, you know, whatever. And so I'm seeing a I don't know, I want to say it's kind of further than that in 2023. Like, if we thought the kind of weird legal squabbles were bad enough already, I see an escalation. It looks like in the United States this year, we're going to see that escalate. We're going to see that rise. I'm seeing that there's some people that aren't really going to be able to see that coming. And there's going to be other people who have already really planted a seed, and they've already had it in their sights, and they've already had a plan in place. They were intentional about it from the get-go, and so they're ready. And so the problem here is, if you're trying to think of the matter as, oh, this is fair, we've got two competent sides coming together to find the legality of something, I'm unfortunately not seeing whatever comes down the pipe in the states to look like that. Unfortunately, it looks like there's going to be one side that's vastly underprepared in the way that they would need to be to meet these kind of critical legal eyes on the matter. And then there's another side that is overprepared, like maybe even overconfident, that they're like, I've been waiting for this moment. This is my moment, man. This is my moment, kind of thing. And so because of that, they would be able to break through the legal scrutiny easier and kind of get their way. Now, whether or not that seems to be super legal, super fair, unfortunately, that doesn't always feel like it's the case here. Like, sometimes it feels like, well, that's how it should be. It shouldn't matter what people think or feel or believe, you know, personally, morally, politically. It's just legally about the law, which is black and white. Just decipher that way. But unfortunately, we know that a lot of the law is about how you interpret the law, and you can interpret it this way or you can interpret it that way. Just like when we see statistics in mathematics, and people can take statistics and calculate it one way to make things present this way, and they can calculate it a different way to make things present another way. You can make things look in the way you want if it boils down to interpretation. And I'm seeing this be not as much a matter of true black and white legality, but I'm seeing this be more about preparedness versus not preparedness. So, just throwing that out there, that's going to be kind of a big theme in 2023 in a very big way in the States, louder than it was in 2022. So hold on to your seatbelts for that to take the big stage. Down here, what we're looking at, got the Magician card upright, King of Pentacles in reverse, Five of Pentacles upright. Y'all, this is some Pentacle. It's a Pentacle heavy row here. Got 2/3 of this row looking Pentacles. This being in the reverse position is not in its strongest stance. This being in the upright position is also not in its strongest stance. I know a lot of people want to think about, you know, reverse means bad and upright means good. Not necessarily in tarot, not necessarily. And so this is a very interesting thing to see, because as the Magician card, this is like, and again, for whatever reason, they started out political when, you know, we didn't necessarily ask for them to, but here they go. That politically, there's going to be some, like a person or a team that seems like they've got it all together. They seem like they're the ones that are wielding the tools. They're the ones that have the power. And yet we're going to see kind of a fall from grace in 2023. We're going to see them get knocked off their horse in a real way. Let's get some more context on that. Why don't we? I know people are going to ask, so... Okay, y'all know here, that was, you know, sloppy as hell. Y'all know here that when I get this card, this is usually some kind of like evidence type dropping card. So I see some kind of evidence coming out that is not a good look. Things that kind of show like, oh yeah, you think the other side is bad. Well, guess what? You're just a shitty, you know, like you're no better. And so all it's highlighting to people is, instead of saying this side is the hero and this side is the bad guy, we're learning that, hey, maybe they're all kind of bad guys, because maybe they're all, you know, in it for the wrong reasons. They're not in it for us, we the people, right? They're in it for our pockets. Yeah, what can line our pockets, you know? Lining our pockets. So it's going to be highlighted more in 2023 that it's not one team versus another team as much as it is us versus them kind of thing. So that has the potential to make things feel more tense and make things feel more toxic, but it also has the potential to give us a little bit more power in voice so that we can speak out on some things and see where that goes. But I see some evidence going down the way. Y'all saw I said that in the international one as well. The international reading about, you know, documents, like tax stuff, recordings, whether it's audio or video or both, that things like that would be coming out and it would be very exposing. I'm seeing that here. This is like, okay, you wanted, you know, to go further with your power, with what you have going for you, but I don't see that. I see your hands being tied and you being stuck between a rock and a hard place and not getting anywhere with it. So I'm seeing a lot of politically people who are in power, some not so great things coming out about them falling off their horse here, losing a little bit of success, losing a little bit of momentum, getting a little bit of egg on their faces, getting their hands tied on what they're able to say or do. Like, I see some attempts at pushing things under the rug to make it seem like not a big deal, or damage control, and I don't see those attempts being as successful as they hope. So I see more people kind of seeing through it and being like, you know what, I'm just not buying it. I'm just tired of this. Like, you wouldn't have anything to try to defend and if you weren't doing shit in the first place. Like, come on, just act right. If you act right, you ain't got nothing to worry about, you know? And I see people kind of getting tired of it, honestly. So that's an interesting way to start. I'm going to pull these up, reshuffle them back, see what else we can get for the year. And going to look here and see what else are we allowed to know, spirit guides. What else are we allowed to know here about the United States in 2023, the entire year, United States in 2023. So let's see. Okay, here. If I wouldn't get so weird about how they lay down, I'm like, lay down, don't be crooked. So what we're looking at here, you know, top row can be, there's some good stuff here, okay? There's some good stuff here for people who worry about things always being Debbie Downer. You know, we just talked about something that was sad, so it looks like they're kind of lifting the energy a bit here. So it looks like in 2023 there's a big thing in the United States about kind of this relationship building, collaboration, partnership, things like that. You see this group of people here in the upright, right next to the Empress in the upright. There's this kind of like teamwork makes the dream work type of vibe that's going to go on in the States in 2023. And so it's, whether it's a sense of, you know, something happening with politicians, whether it's a sense of something happening among celebrities, whether it's a sense of something happening among, again, we the people, and what we're able to make happen. It looks like a lot of innovation and creativity taking place to really further some goals, and that it's comes about because of those collaborations and partnerships, leveraging and balancing out those collaborations and partnerships to make something happen in response to this. So the Moon card in the upright position, this is like, hey, we've got some dark shadows down here. We've got some, you know, demons we've suppressed, so to speak. We've got some skeletons in our closet. We're all, you know, kind of got some things that are going on with us that maybe are not the tip-top shape of health. And so on a large scale, on a macro level, we might see society in a major way being like, what are our societal skeletons in the closet, unhealthy things that we've shoved down, and how do we team up together in a big societal way to deal with that? Versus on a smaller level, like, okay, in our communities, what kinds of things do we as a community have stifled and shoved down that we can team up and work on to help out and bring that to a better place? And then on the smallest of micro levels within ourselves, what is it that we personally know we've shoved down? What gunk do we have down there? And what way can we team up with people to help fix that? We're going to see that happen and play out on literally all three levels, okay? Macro, micro, and that meso in between. And so it could get messy. When you have to face darkness and try to bring light to it, you have to first acknowledge that it's there. Then you have to be willing to shine a light on it to expose it, even if it makes you look bad. Then you have to be willing to say, we can't do this alone. We need help, and we need help to do it and bridge it out together. That's hard to do. And if you think that's hard to do just within yourself and your own life, think of how that might be hard to do on a level in a whole community, or on a level in our entire United States society. Like, we as the United States like to cover it up and put a blind eye to something and be like, I don't see anything. I don't see anything. It's not actually happening, you know, unless we say it out loud. And so the act of us actually being vulnerable enough to admit it and expose it and then get help to do something about that, for that to happen, things, 23, I'll get to that. But for that to happen, y'all, that is going to be a painful process, a messy process, and I can tell you the United States will not do that willingly. So it's a good thing that it's going to happen, a very bright and hopeful thing that it's going to happen, because it needs to happen, but it's going to be sloppy while it happens. Sloppy uncomfortable, could be scary to some people, could be angering to some people how it happens, you know, seeing maybe some people kind of be deniers about it at first and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of feelings about this, and those kind of things are going to boil over in a major way. But ultimately, the goal here, the outcome that can happen here is really good and something that we've all probably really wanted. So it's great that we're going in that direction. That's a major positive that we're going in that direction. But you know, doing the work is hard. And again, messy. So it's like, get excited about, you know, where we will come out at the end and the outcome, but also brace yourself for the process, you know, just prep yourself, make sure you're ready for the process kind of thing. But what I said I wanted to put a pin in is, as I was saying all that, I looked down at my little ticker tape time, and it was 23 minutes and 23 seconds. And so I want to look up in the little angel numbers. I saw all those fingerprints on my phone. I'm going to look up in the angel numbers and find out the meaning of 23 in the angel numbers, because for that to come up right as we were saying that, let's see, 23, the ascended masters, which is people like Jesus, Buddha, you know, those spirits, those souls that have ascended. The ascended masters are helping you to keep the faith. They're with you right now and are available to you as you ask for their assistance. So as we are going through this, and we're going through the messy, challenging times, call on the ascended masters. If you and your faith resonate more with Jesus, call on Jesus. If you and your faith resonate more with Buddha, call on Buddha. There are other leaders, you know, the Dalai Lama. There's all kinds of leaders. And I know there's, you know, various Dalai Lamas. I'm talking about the ones who've passed, you know, the ascended ones. But call on whoever of the ascended masters resonates most with you and your beliefs, or call on all of them if you want all of them, as we're going through this process. Like, okay, now help me hold through this. You're saying to keep the faith, and that if I need help keeping the faith, I need to call on you. And y'all, I need a little dose of faith right now with what I'm seeing playing out here on the big screen. I need a little dose of faith. Then they'll come through and help you with that. And so I'm glad that they put that in there. They're like, hey, put this little plug in for us, you know, we can help. So thank y'all for that. I do appreciate that. I'm sure y'all do as well. But anyway, so with that down here, in terms of how that's going to play out, because of that bubbling up of those things and bubbling over, you know, when our emotions kind of start to bubble up, sometimes they flow over. Sometimes we handle that well. Sometimes when our emotions flow over, we don't handle that well as a society. And so they're showing here, these are the people that are like, all right, I feel it. My purpose has just clicked on. I feel my purpose stronger than ever, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make a difference, and I'm going to speak up, and I'm going to put myself out there. And so we're going to have certain people kind of rise to the occasion and start speaking out big time. So we're going to see kind of, I would even say kind of this uprising, explosion type of thing of people who are like, you know, now I have my own podcast and I'm saying all of this stuff, and you know, now my podcast is growing because I'm speaking all of this truth, and I'm having this following of people who agree, and we're being able to put pressure on people to make these changes. We're going to see an upsurging of that type of profile of people, that kind of energy of people, like that kind of grassroots, like from the ground up, because it looks like there's going to be people who feel like, hey, my hands were tied. You know, I was damned if you do, damned if you didn't, because I couldn't trust, you know, my leaders to do this. So I found a way to take it upon myself to do this. And so we're going to see a lot of those, you know, the little guy kind of going up against this stuff. So that's going to mean like, you know, advocacy groups, or, you know, how they'll, you know, pass around these links that say, you know, sign this petition or whatever. We're going to see a whole lot of those types of things. And essentially, just by virtue of seeing those types of things, protests, we're going to see, you know, people congregating in protest, some peaceful, some not as peaceful, but we're going to see a lot of that protesting. Again, I'm grassroots, I'm little guy on the ground, so to speak, and I'm shouting out and I'm saying what I need and what I want. Demonstrations coming up and boiling out in like art exhibitions or things like that, coming up and going out in, you know, companies saying, well, if you're not going to stand up for, you know, climate change, then me as a company, I'm going to take a stand and I'm going to say, we're going to do this to reduce emissions, and we're going to do this to better recycle, and we're going to do this for clean energy, and blah, blah, blah. And people start to feel socially pressured to follow their lead, you know, like a lot of that stuff. And that is going to be very empowering. And the actions of those different things that we see are going to be quite successful. So that is a positive here too in the United States, is we're going to see a lot more success of that kind of ground up type of thing, where there's going to be, you know, substantial changes from that, like changes that we would endorse, that we would promote, that we would hope for, changes that we would have the opportunity to be a part of. So that looks really cool. That's a really cool thing here. So if we need to add a little bright spot, we're adding that bright spot here. So let me look into, well, you know, one more category here, asking the spirit guides here, what else can we know in the United States about 2023? What else, if anything, can we know in the United States about 2023? So let's see here. Alrighty. And if you want a private reading, link down below, Bees Talks and Tarot. BeasTalksAndTarot.com. Ooh, okay, we got a flipper in here. Y'all can get a private reading and see what's coming up in your 2023. I don't know, whatever you need to work through. I also got some energy clearing for people who are like, okay, listen here, my energy's a mess and I want to get right before the year starts. Okay, we can do that too. And if you want to learn to read tarot, we can do that too. If you need some life coaching to kind of get everything in order for yourself, we can do that too. So check out all those things on my website, BeasTalksAndTarot.com. Woo! All right. What else we are able to know? Notice the pattern here, literally in all three. An arc, upturned. An arc, upturned. An arc, upturned. Very interesting to see that visual pattern. Interesting. All right. Wow. I mean, okay. They're like, hey, let's end with a bang. And I was thinking, you know, hey, we'll do some, maybe they'll give us some heavy stuff, and then maybe they'll end with like the light, heartwarming thing. They're like, hey, no. Let's start with a bang, and then let's bring some high notes in of all these cool things that they just talked about, and then let's do another hit before we go. And I'm like, okay, I'm just the messenger, so if that's your plan, sure, I'm along for the ride here. But yeah, for us to have noticed that pattern, again, I'm an intuitive reader. This is part of the process. My Canadians and my Brits process, yes. This is part of that. Me and my southern self process. To see that kind of recurring theme of three downturned arches here. Arches have a lot of symbolism to them, and so here, I mean, like, seriously, spiritual significance of arches. Like I'm not even kidding. I'm literally typing that in right now because I have a intuitive vibe of where they're going with this, but I'm just guaranteeing that if I type this in, they're going to word it in a way that like hits better than what I'm going to say. In mythology, it represents the door between time and space through which one passes to enter another world. The arch signifies the opening to new perspectives, the fact of seeing on the other side. It is used in some cultures as a symbol of renewal. Y'all, I cannot make this shit up. Y'all saw me shuffle. I shuffle between sets of pulling cards, and I shuffle between every single card I pull. You saw that, and you see the upward arch, upturned arch, all three right there. Represents the door between time and space through which one passes to enter another world. The arches signify the opening to new perspectives, the fact of seeing the other side, and in some cultures, it's a symbol of renewal. I'm just telling y'all here that this is a big year. This is a big year. And specifically for the United States, there is something about the United States that we are going through an archway in 2023 to enter into our renewal. Is there any wonder why, I am saying this on repeat, y'all, is there any wonder why you've noticed in that reading from like 3 years ago, why it said 2024 was going to be the biggest year in a while for us and like for the world, but for us in the United States especially, and that the last 3 years, you know, all this kind of coming up was going to be a build to that. And now here you see these archways present themselves, and it's a 3. You know, in spirituality, seeing things in sets of 3 is a big deal. Seeing 3, 3, 3, or seeing things in sets of 3. You know, in the Bible, there's a big thing about 3s and sets of 3s. And so there's a big shakeup, a big awakening of sorts. And we're talking about the United States here. So in the United States, a big shakeup, a big wake up, shake up to wake up, of sorts that is going to be leading us to a renewal, leading us through the space of one type of perspective, because it's saying opening to new perspectives, one type of perspective into a new type of perspective. It looks like the shake up and wake up is going to happen in the US in a way that brings us through to a new perspective. So as it's ushering us into our big old year of 2024, we're going to get some moments like that really wake us up to new perspectives. So that's huge, and literally that just happened here on the spot. Cannot make this up. This is how intuitive reading goes. You see these pictures on the card, it cues something in your head, you type in literally, you know, okay, let me Google that, you get this, and it's like boom, there it goes, and you're like, whoa, that resonated in a shockingly weird, kind of uncomfortable way, and I got to process that for a little bit there. And so fair enough, I'm going to process that. I know the hell I am. I know I'm going to keep that page open right there on my phone so I can reread that and like go through my own little anxiety hamster wheel about it for a minute there before I calm down. But there's going to be that type of moment. Now, with this bottom row, our Knight of Pentacles, how many times do I have to say it? Our slow and steady wins the race guy. This is our slowest knight in the deck, but he is dependable. He gets his prize. He gets what he's after. So it takes him his time, but he gets there. He gets there. And this looks like, when this is in reverse, it's like, okay, we can't really rely on other people, other countries to give us this bit that we need. This is something that we have to figure out internally amongst ourselves. Like, we've got to sort this out ourselves as state citizens here. We have to sort this out. The Justice card comes in here again. So we started this entire reading with the theme of justice, fairness, balance, legality, and what that would all mean for us in the states in 2023. And they are ending the reading this year in the Justice card for balance and fairness and justice and legalities and where that brings us this year. Literally, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, was the Justice card for this reading. Very interesting that they did that. They're like, hey, let's give you 6 cards here for the end and make it like power punch. Like, I'm sitting here like, whoa, I was not ready. She wasn't ready. She was not ready. Lord of mercy. Lord, help, please. Jesus, baby Jesus, Buddha, Allah, everybody, help. Wow. So, for everybody who's like me and doesn't know what to think right now, and you're just kind of sitting like, so what you're saying is, like, if you're like me and you're doing that, 3 cards, please, spirit guides, on kind of a takeaway from these 6 cards and everything you just threw at us that kind of sent us for a loop. 3 cards on a takeaway that you want us to leave these 6 cards with feeling and knowing, to give us some clarity, to tie a bow around where you're going here. Okay. So what they're showing here. They're showing King of Wands upright, Hermit card upright, Judgment card in reverse. This is to say that they're like, okay, this is going to be a strange year for balance between having to kind of go inward and like soul search and think and change the perspectives like what they were talking about, yet also take action on that. So we can't just sit there and reflect and be like, oh, that was a good reflection that we figured this out. It's something that's like, okay, now that you know, you've got to do something about it, act on it, chop. And so it's a taking action kind of thing. And with the Judgment card in reverse, they're like, just don't miss the call. Just don't miss the call. This is Angel Gabriel blowing his horn, being like, okay, y'all, I'm sending y'all the calling. I'm letting you know, come on, answer the call. So it's like, don't miss the call. If you have a calling, that you feel some big sense of purpose towards doing something or saying something or interacting some kind of a way, then heed the call. If you have some kind of, like for some people out there that are watching this, y'all might be people that receive, hints and signs and things through dreams. Like, what are those dreams telling you? Even if they're not literal, even if they're just symbolic, what are they telling you? And heed that call through your dreams. Other people may see signs in other ways, the repeating numbers like the 111, 222, 323, 444, whatever. What are those telling you? Heed your calls on that. We all kind of receive some sort of information from our guides in some kind of ways, whether we're noticing it yet or not. What are those things? Take a pause and listen. Find out what those things are. Feel what that's telling us to do in our discernment and take action on it. Because we're going to be changing our perspectives and it may take some time, but there's some kind of a universal balance coming into play about this. And so we need to get right on the inside, take some action on it, and make sure we're heeding the call. And so apparently there's a huge thing in the US that is gonna either catalyze us to do this, or that we just somehow feel like we really need to do, that there's some kind of a theme for us here. There's some way that this is playing out, again, on the micro level, meso level, macro level. We keep seeing that theme of this playing out on all different sides of the level. So be thinking about that as you go through the year. Don't let it bust your brain, follow it through the inner sight, again, like that, what was that movie with Denzel Washington? Like, was it The Book of Eli or something, where he had memorized the Bible that he read through Braille because he was blind, and so he was blind, but he still followed the path and followed the way because he could feel the direction that he was supposed to go. It was an inner knowing of the direction, not a thinking. So don't rack your brains over this, because your brains don't have the answers. It's not there. It's somewhere else. It's the thinking, the feeling, the processing internally, the receiving the information from your guides. So just let it come to you naturally, organically, however it does. Take one step at a time. Don't force a fit, you know, just allow it to go through, because this is an intense way to end a reading. I'm almost mad at it. I'm like, damn, you're gonna throw this in on us and then you're gonna hop on out. Okay. But it doesn't look like they're trying to be anxiety producing for anybody out there that gets anxiety. They're just wanting to give a heads up. They're like, hey, you wanted a heads up. You wanted to know what's going to happen in the States. There's going to be a shake up and wake up in the United States this year. We're going to be changing perspectives, walking from one door to another door through our archway. We're going to have a different idea about what this should look like, be like, and feel like, and we need to all be on board and all play our parts, all show up to make this happen. If you want it to happen, it's not just gonna happen without active participation. So if you want it to happen, you gotta be a part of it. So it looks like they're just kind of trying to give us a heads up and let us know that it is a shake up and wake up, so that we're not blindsided by it, or as less blindsided as we can be, and so that we know it's something that we do have to take an active role. We can't just be like, I wonder how this will play out as I sit here and eat my popcorn. All the Perk Squad folks, put your little piggy and popcorn emoji in the comments. We can't just be the little piggy and popcorn. We have to be more active and proactive this year, because it's not going to happen without us. So that's kind of where they're going. And so for the rest of y'all, if y'all are an international viewer, my international folks, raise your hand, do your little emoji with the raised hand so that I know you're an international folk and you still showed up for a US only reading because you were interested in what it might say, either casually or because you're like, hey, when the US has some weird shit, it affects my country, and so I just want to know. So raise your hand and let me know your thoughts, because I'm sure you're like, oh gosh, if they're going to go through all this, if they're going to have a facelift, then that's probably going to impact us some kind of way, and I just was here to know about it. So okay, there you go. And on a lighthearted note, because we need to have a little bit more lift, this is a serious, powerful topic, not intended to be scary, but serious and powerful. So lighthearted. Who else in here has got their 90s things going on where they're just stuck in a 90s phase right now, just feeling the 90s vibe, wanting to do the 90s thing? Anybody else? Am I alone? That's okay if I am, but just asking. So again, I'll let you, just my interpretation. If you want a private reading, then you know what to do. If you want the cleansing, clearing, if you want the life coaching, if you want the tarot tutoring, any of those things, website, BeasTalksAndTarot below. Want to be a part of the Perk Squad for your extra perks? You might want the weekly forecast now. Then join button down below or in the description. And of course, as always, we will end this video with some puppy shenanigans to continue the lightheartedness here. So, you know, I don't even know what the hell they're doing all the time. They're doing their little puppy things, and they got to do their puppy things. And so we'll just lighten up the rest of this reading with whatever fuckery they want to provide us with today. So, anywho, don't be a stranger. Come back and see me, and I will talk at you later. Bye, love you minute. Bye, love you minute.